Welcome back to Matter of Fact from Philadelphia. President Trump may have won Pennsylvania back in 2016, but a recent Quinnipiac poll shows that the president is struggling with voters here. Ed Rendell served as the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania from 2003 to 2011. He was also the mayor of Philadelphia, and he's the author of A Nation of Wusses: How America's Leaders Lost the Guts to Make Us Great. Governor Ed Rendell, it's so nice to have you. Thank you for sitting down and talking with me. Give me the lay of the land of the state of Pennsylvania, politically speaking.
Pennsylvania is a decidedly purple state. We have a Democratic governor who's been elected twice, but we have Republican control of the House and the Senate, State House and State Senate. We have one Democratic U.S. Senator, one Republican U.S. Senator. So it's a decidedly purple state.
The counties, I mean, obviously Philadelphia, where we are, is blue. Erie, Northampton, Lucerne, those are the ones that flipped, that had gone for Obama and then went for Trump in 2016. What messages do you think are coming from Donald Trump that resonate with people in those counties, or do you think things have changed dramatically?
When you assess Donald Trump's chances, he has a tougher road to hoe in Pennsylvania than he did in 2016. But understand, he has two advantages. One, he's an incumbent president presiding over a good economy. Now, that incumbent with a good economy is never lost in the history of U.S. elections. It doesn't seem to help him in the polls, but it's still an asset. There's no question. There are a lot of people out there who don't want to admit they're voting for Donald Trump, but they like some of the things he's done.
Some of the candidates on the Democratic side, obviously, are very progressive. Is that going to be problematic here in this state, which, as you know, is purple, basically?
Yeah, it will be problems for two reasons.
I mean, Bernie Sanders is one. Elizabeth Warren is
right. Donald Trump cannot win the 2020 election. The Democrats can lose it, and Donald Trump can help us lose it. In his State of the Union address, he attacked Democrats and said the Democrats were trying to turn the country into a socialist country. He's got a little guy somewhere down in the basement of his campaign headquarters totaling up all the promises that all of the Democratic candidates running for president are making. Free college, Medicare for all. He's totaling up what they're going to cost. And he's going to come up with a fairly credible figure. It's going to mean a tax increase, which has to be borne by everyone. And it will be hard to dispute that. And of course, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. If you're a Democrat out there, get ready for the fight of your life. This is going to be close down to the end.
There's lots of conversations about impeachment. Nancy Pelosi has been pretty clear that that's not a direction she's willing to go. Where do you stand on that?
I'm with Nancy. We can never get Donald Trump out of office by the impeachment route. There's absolutely no chance that the Senate, as it's constituted now, will vote to convict Donald Trump.
But is the analogy in a court of law, hey, we're never going to win this case, so we shouldn't bother to bring it? Or we shouldn't impanel a grand jury because we're never going to win?
That's actually what most U.S. attorneys do. They don't bring cases they think they can't win, or they know they can't win. So that's number one. We can't win. Number two is it's clear to me that the Trump base is still with him, but not quite as enthusiastic. Still enthusiastic some, but not quite as enthusiastic as it was in 2016. Do we want to rile them up? There's a theory that Donald Trump wants to be impeached because he thinks it would help his reelection chances.
Governor Ed Rendell, nice to see you. Thank you. Appreciate it.